Welcome to Everyday Martial Artist, a weekly podcast where you'll join me, Brian Doucette, as I interview a different martial artist each episode and hear their story. Some guests you may have heard of, and some you probably haven't. Be sure to subscribe where all your favorite podcasts are available. Also visit our website at everydaymartialartist.com. If you're listening for a specific interview, I sure hope you'll stay and check out the other episodes. A very special thank you to Topher Williams for our custom theme music. And now, the newest episode of Everyday Martial Artist. Everyday Martial Artist is brought to you by KOOnline.com for all your martial arts needs. Sparring and safety gear, rank belts, uniforms, weapons, patches, and more. Wholesale supplies made by martial artists for martial artists. Visit us today at ko-online.com. Hello and welcome to Everyday Martial Artist. I'm your host, Brian Doucette, and as we do every Thursday, we chat with a brand new guest talking about their life and their journey throughout the world of martial arts. My guest today is retired U.S. Navy and a former deputy sheriff from Memphis, Tennessee. He's a motivational speaker and a singer-songwriter. He's appeared in over 130 film and TV projects, was in blockbuster movies like The Rock and Armageddon, and appeared in hit TV series like Friday Night Lights, Babylon 5, and some of my favorites, Knight Rider, Macgyver, Sliders, Pacific Blue, and Criminal Minds, and so many more. And fans of the podcast may even remember his role as a karate instructor in the hit comedy series Mama's Family. But I know you'll definitely remember his recurring roles in Walker, Texas Ranger, his role in the movie Guardian Angel with friend of the podcast Cynthia Rothrock, and of course, one of his most well-known roles as Jimmy in the classic movie Roadhouse, which features that iconic fight scene with Patrick Swayze. He studied multiple martial arts and was also a NATO kickboxing champion. Please welcome to the show today my guest, Mr. Martial Art Teague. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, Brian. How are you?
Good. I think I got a kick out of the intro there.
Oh yeah, I'm sitting over here smiling, man. I started to say my head just swelled up here.
Well, there you
I
go.
forgot I did all those.
Nice. Well, as soon as I saw Pacific Blue, my eyes lit up because I loved that show, and most people don't remember it. And I actually, when I was in California for my honeymoon, we were wandering down Venice Beach, and
were we working down there by chance?
I don't know, but what's funny is we're walking and these two bike cops fly by us. My wife's like, "Oh my God, those are cops." I'm like, "No, they're not." And I start running. My wife's like, "Where are you going?" I recognized the actors right away, and we stumbled upon them filming a scene, and I actually got to meet, I can't remember his name now, the guy who played T.C. Calloway. I actually got to meet him and got a picture with him and stuff and watched him film one of the scenes. It was so cool.
Oh, how great.
Yeah, so
it's not as elaborate as people think it is it?
No.
It's hot days, long days, and but it's a wonderful business to be in. It's not for everybody, but it's a wonderful business to be in.
Nice. So
it's a very hard business to be in.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people. So, well, first of all, I definitely want to get into the Hollywood stuff for sure. But what we like to do to start out is I want to go back to the beginning and just find out what led to that first interest, that first spark that got you interested in martial arts.
My family had me placed with relatives that worked with the Methodist Missionary Service in Seoul, Korea.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And, for a while, not super long, but for a while. And you had a choice, being a youngster, and I do mean a youngster, like 9, 10, where you could learn, you could get involved because it was mandatory. You could get involved either in the arts and crafts of the country, or you could get into martial arts. And coming from the South, I realized I never could dance.
Okay.
And I certainly wasn't going to wear some of those very artistic outfits that they wore. So I figured, what the heck, I'll just learn martial arts. Okay. And I must admit, I didn't know jack squat about martial arts. I got into it, and because I was a out-of-towner and, Anglo round eye kind of person, they beat the crap out of me to start out with until I kind of started catching on. And our instructor, who always kind of walked around with a staff, which he would lightly or middleweight tap you if you were wrong and where you were wrong, took an interest. And because I was not from there, kind of worked with me, and I just basically fell in love with it.
Do you remember what style that was?
Taekwondo.
Okay. And how long did you end up studying that?
Well, I've studied it for many, many years, but over there for about 2 years.
Okay. And then I'm assuming you came back to the States then?
Came back to the States, and then I was sent to private schools, military schools.
Okay.
And there it was judo, and one of the instructors was also happened to be a Taekwondo black belt, and he I worked with him on the side too, but I kind of participated in judo there and just under their criteria. And I wasn't really, the person that goes, I mean, I tried, to play football. I was never any good at it. It's like I've never played really any of those sports. People say, well, I played baseball. I did basketball. I played football. I fought.
Okay.
That's what I did. I fought. And I'd get in trouble for it, but I learned a lot and, and came back to my hometown finally after many years and went to high school for 1 year. And realized I just didn't fit in.
Okay.
They didn't have a program. They didn't have a judo program or a martial arts program. There was some boxing and I did a little of that, but it just wasn't my interest. I mean, I would always be stretching out in the gym. People would look at me and say, what are you doing? So I'm stretching out. This is what I do, and they always thought I was odd because I used my feet.
Yep.
And nobody had seen that
Right.
ever. And there was a bully at a football game. I'll never forget it. Who was picking on some band members. I was there. This is after I left high school, but I came back on a leave and he was picking on band members and I went over and asked him to stop. I mean, there was 2 or 3 of them and they looked at me and they just basically laughed and he went back, pushed the guy again. And before he stood back up, I did a spinning heel kick. And of course that was into that. Fight was over. They never picked on the band again.
Nice.
And that was it. But, to say it came in handy. Yes, it came in handy. Always came in handy. But from there, I went into the military. And obviously in the military, I continued to study. Wherever I was, I would find a place and I would study, whether it be judo or taekwondo, hapkido, you name it, I trained at it. Anything I could do to stay involved. So it's just been a continuation of that. And, after that, I became, after the military, I'm just brushing over some things real quick. When I retired out of the Navy, I kind of wrong place, right time, or right place, wrong time, got injured and they retired me out of the military. I signed up to be a deputy sheriff. And of course, I went in and signed a waiver, said, okay, well, you've had injuries. If you can pass the physical test, and I did the test, I did a 98.9. He said, we never given out 100. I said, okay, whatever. 98.9. I said, I'll take that. And got involved with a Master Kong Ree in Memphis.
Okay.
And studied with him for years.
And what style was it? Was that Taekwondo?
Yes,
Okay.
It was.
Okay.
But I was also studying at the same time Hapkido. And I studied later out here in California. When I went to California, I completed that out there. But Kong Ree, I was with him for a long time. And as I was a deputy sheriff, I became involved with your friend and mine, Superfoot Wallace.
Nice.
And Superfoot had a school there in Memphis. And Red West, I don't know if you've ever heard of Red West before.
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
Well, okay. Red, dear, God rest his soul. Very dear friend of mine. He and I started training together there. And of course, that was Elvis's, I think Elvis, I don't know for sure because I never saw the paperwork, but I think Elvis was a silent partner in that particular dojo.
Okay.
So he came down there and trained with Bill and we all trained. So it just continued on from there. And it has, after I left there and went to California to get into the acting business, I can, Master Sun Bung Moon who was in Los Angeles, actually out in the San Fernando Valley. I trained with him for years.
Okay.
Years. And just, that's, and of course, Gentle Jean LaBelle. I trained with Gentle Jean LaBelle, and it's just gone on and on. Does that pretty much cover that answer?
Oh, definitely. Now, back up a little bit to when you were still in the Navy. Now, is that, you did the kickboxing when you were in the Navy, correct?
Yes, I did.
How did that come about?
Actually, when I was pulled to, this was after Vietnam, I was actually pulled to Admiral Isaac C. Kidd. He was commander of the 6th Fleet. I do not know how he got a hold of my records or whatever, but he pulled me to his command to work his security because I was a fighter. And people had seen me fight. I guess the word got out. And I was a pretty good fighter, and he brought me in to work his security. And it was he and it was myself and a gunny sergeant who were more or less full-timers. He had other security, but we were kind of full-time. And then we realized that we were full-time because the gunny sergeant was a middleweight boxer, and I got stuck in heavyweight kickboxing, even though I was 205. I mean, I'm 205, heavyweight, but that's the class they put me in. Yep. So they kind of put you wherever they want you to be.
Right.
And I ended up competing all over every place the Mediterranean Fleet went. I competed all over the place and ended up in a championship fight for the NATO heavyweight kickboxing champion, which I eventually got. Nice.
So did you enjoy like the full contact style of kickboxing?
I love that.
Okay.
That's the part I like the most.
Nice.
I mean, I never was. I mean, you've had people that are more forms oriented, people. I never was a forms person. I was a fighter and studied weapons, and that's kind of was my forte. Did I do some forms? Yes. Was I really good at them? No.
Okay.
Because it didn't interest me. I was my mind was more focused toward fighting.
Mm-hmm. So then, did you do some
I worked
regular
weapons?
Oh,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, did you do some regular martial arts tournaments also?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. Oh, California. I did one in Canada.
Okay.
I went up there to fight a guy who was a heavyweight. He had been bad mouthing me for quite some time. He was
Really?
he was a champ. He had been bad mouthing me, and I didn't get it. I didn't really know the guy,
Mm-hmm.
but for some reason he's bad mouthing. He said, "Well, come up here and fight." I said, "Okay." He said, "We have a fight such and such." I said, "Set it up. I'll come up there and we'll fight." I flew up. I stretched out on the plane because by the time you get through all the paperwork and to the airport and to the thing, I basically went from the airport to the match.
Wow.
And fought him and knocked him out in the second round.
Nice. Okay.
I thanked him for the invitation and I left.
That's great. That's awesome.
I asked him why. I said, "Why were you?" He said, "Because, I heard people say you were a badass, so I wanted to fight you." I said, "Man, I'm just a fighter like everybody else." So, let's not do that anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
I shook his hand. I left, with a smile, said, "Nice to meet you." And that was pretty much it.
Awesome. Now you mentioned weapons. So did you compete in weapons or was that just more for personal?
No, that was more for personal.
Okay.
That was more personal. I did a couple competitions with it, but there really wasn't why I picked up and started studying weapons. I studied weapons, primarily because I'd been in the military, been a cop, and just wanted to learn the weapons.
Okay. So what were some of your favorite weapons to study?
Well, obviously the katana,
Mm-hmm.
or a bokken if you're practicing, sai,
Nice.
and the bow.
Okay. Very cool.
Everybody did nunchucks.
Yeah.
But I could do them. I didn't really care for them.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were pretty useless. Screamer sticks, I think, are much better.
Nice. Yes.
I think screamers are a much more effective weapon to use, much more versatile, and you stand less of a chance of hitting yourself in the head.
That is true. I think anyone who's ever practiced nunchucks has hit themselves in the head at least once. So if not, you're doing it wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, or busted their own knuckles,
Yep.
Or popped themselves in the elbow or ear or something like that. I did.
Or broke a dorm room window, but I'm not saying who that was. So
well, that's somebody did it. We don't know.
That's right. I don't know who I heard about.
No, did it, but there was a one.
That's right. See, I always like the bow staff. Just to me, that's probably the most practical weapon. Because, if you're getting the situation, you can grab a pool cue, you can grab a broomstick, something.
Well, as you know, I've used pool cues.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned it. Yep.
But I like if I were to pick a special, the sword I like just because it's a flow.
Yes.
I use it. It's not about anything. I don't go out to do it. Here, watch me use a sword. I used it a lot of times just for the flow.
Mm-hmm.
The movement, the spins, the guards, and getting it up. The attack, the quick attack in the back, and blocking, and just strictly for that.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed that. But two weapons, I guess if there was two weapons I actually used, one would be the bow and the other would be screamer sticks.
Nice. I also really enjoy the tonfa. I don't know why. I picked it up when I was a teenager, and that's always been one of my favorite weapons is the tonfa.
What led you to that, if you don't mind my asking?
I honestly don't know. I think it was because an older martial arts student gave me one. So
okay.
I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. I didn't really know what it was at the time. And so I think I went into the local library and found a book on it and just kind of started practicing. And I actually still have that original one he gave me. So
really,
probably in
don't ever get rid of it.
No, I'm guessing I probably got it in 88 or 89 probably. And I still have it. So,
most people don't even know what nunchucks were really actually developed for.
Yeah.
Getting the rice off the rice.
Yep, exactly.
They don't know that was what it was actually used for. So this is for beating rice down. What? It's a weapon. No, it's a rice beater that somebody turned into a weapon because they weren't allowed to have weapons.
That is true. So did you go to seek out specific instructors for the weapons training, or did your instructors you were currently training with?
I did that. I actually searched out certain instructors that were more inclined to do that, and I studied with them privately on that just because, I did some classroom stuff, but mostly it was private just because I guess you could say in some instances I'm kind of stingy with my time.
Mm-hmm.
So when I get it, I want the time for me.
Nice. That makes sense.
That way, when I ask a question, and God knows we all are going to ask a lot of questions, the answer came specifically to me. It wasn't spoken about okay, this is to 100 people. If this happens, you can do this. You ask a question, the guy comes over. Okay, this is the reason why I'm asking you to block here, cross here, push down, strike here, da, da, da.
Nice.
And it just made more sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. I love private lessons. I wish.
Yeah.
wish I can get them more often. So
I did them as I could afford them.
Right. Yeah, they are always more expensive, unfortunately.
They are more expensive, but I did them as I could afford them, and don't regret a bit of it. Don't regret it. Not one of it. I mean, I still have my original size. I mean, they've been around a while, and they're heavy, and they're the old heavy style. But I like them. I love them. And I'll sit around. Sometimes I'll get them and go out in the yard, and I'll just walk around and just work blocks and strikes, just for the heck of it.
That's cool.
And I'm sure if my neighbors see me, they'll look at me and go, I don't know what he's doing. He's out there with these two pieces of something in each hand. He's spinning them around and striking here and block. And I said, maybe he's having an attack or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I've gotten many strange looks from neighbors. I've done nunchuck outside. I've done bow staff. I've even done sword. Actually had cops come to the house because the neighbor saw me with a sword in my backyard. So.
Yeah. I had that once.
Yep.
They said, "Sir, are you walking around with a sword?" And I said, "Well, yeah."
Technically.
I said, "Technically, I am, but I am in my yard. I am practicing with my sword because that's what I do with it." Can we see it? Yeah, you can see it. Here it is. Wow, that looks nasty. I said, well, it can be nasty, but that's not what I'm using it for.
That's great. So,
I've kind of taken that and put some of that in work that I have done.
Okay.
For instance, the sword, for instance, the character Talon I played in Babylon 5. Yeah, space show, right?
Yeah.
You expect everybody to be walking around with some kind of laser blaster or something. My character, I didn't want to do that. I said I want him to be an old samurai type.
Nice.
Because you don't know how old a Narn is anyway. And I don't want one of your weapons. I carried a sword. It was very unique from all the rest because all the rest, everybody had these fancy things they carried. Talon, he just walks around with a sword, and if he draws it, there's going to be a problem.
That's awesome.
So I thought it was pretty cool, and everybody kind of locked into that character and liked it because of that.
Oh yeah, it was a memorable character. So I'm curious, in all your years then in martial arts, did you ever get into teaching at all? Was that something you ever were interested in and did?
Yeah, I there was a couple of instructors over the years that said, "Marshall, would you come in and teach?" Here, most of my jobs did not lend themselves to me being a regular teacher.
Right.
It just didn't work because I worked odd hours in odd places. I moved around a lot, and it's not really fair to the students. I mean, right. I had Cher's kids for a while when I was teaching at American Karate. I was teaching there, and Cher's kids would come in every day and would work with them, and and try to get them to be interested in something else.
Yep.
And they were they're creatures of their environment. A lot of times they just didn't know because they had never had to know.
Right. So
they tried, and there were sometimes they would kind of tighten up. I don't have to do that. No, you don't. You have to look at it and say, no, you don't have to. But you understand that everybody else in this room is going to do it because they want to learn. If you don't want to learn, if you're not here, because I really would hate to lose you. But if you don't want to learn, you can go over there and sit down if you don't feel like you want to participate. And then I guess I just guilt them into it.
Nice.
But they would stay up. They were actually pretty good kids.
That's good.
And I trained for a guy I know him. I mean, I get along with him. I don't know. I can't speak for other people. His name is Frank Dukes.
Oh, yeah. I actually interviewed him recently. So
you did?
Yep.
I trained for Frank for a while, for about a year or so. We got along fine. He has his own form, and I was fully familiar with a lot of what he was doing. So it was easy for me to go in there and help, take a class or two or teach on a semi-regular basis.
Nice. So what were some of his classes like? Just, he talked a little bit about it when he was on the show. I mean, just, compared to other styles, what was that like a workout with him?
Most of his styles, when what he would teach, he had how would you say, there was this, if you made it to a certain place and you wanted to learn ninjutsu, well, then you would, the primary class was just like most classes. You teach them the strikes, the blocks, footwork, how to stay on the move. Don't stand there. The usual stuff. Be light on your feet. Be light on your feet. Be light with your hands. It's not about tightening up. It's about striking fast and being precise. Basically that. I can't really say there was any big difference in what he was teaching that other people were teaching. Nothing that I would say would make it drastically different until you went over to his ninjutsu class. And then it was a lot of weapons that he worked with.
Okay. So do you remember your first black belt test?
Oh, gosh. I remember being a little worried.
Okay.
There was the board I was tested in front of. There was 8 people on the board there.
Wow. Okay.
And, they're all sitting in a semicircle and they're all staring at you. And for some reason, nobody smiled. But I was a little nervous,
Mm-hmm.
Do I think I did it flawlessly? No, but I did well. I was not displeased with my performance and what I did. I know I screwed up in a couple of places, but I think everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to think everybody does.
Yeah.
Remember in the test, there was one move I was doing and I did not feel right about it. I stopped. I went back and started again. I didn't know what that was going to do, as far as how it would be graded, looked upon.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't like it. And I remember going back, stopping, bowing, went back to my position, started over again. Second one, obviously, I was much more pleased with and continued on. There was never anything said one way or the other about it.
Okay.
But how about you? When you took your first, how did you feel?
I was nervous mainly because I had actually, my first black belt test was when I studied traditional Taekwondo, because I studied Tung Sudo when I was a kid, when I was 10, and then high school I did Shotokan,
Okay.
never long enough to get to that level. And when I moved up to the area I live now, near Fargo, North Dakota, I started traditional Taekwondo in 92, and I was getting ready to test. I was going to be testing in 96, but I moved to California in 1996 to train in American Kempo. So I actually came back for my test. It was the night before Thanksgiving, 1996. So
But you came back from California to take your test?
I drove back. So I didn't, unfortunately, when I was out in California, I didn't get to study as much. I didn't pass the first time. Kind of a unique story, but I did very well. I missed one break and I think 2 techniques. And then I literally 2 days later went back to California. Then I ended up moving back to Minnesota. I was getting ready to come back and retest and start training again, and then got married, had kids, and life got in the way. Fast forward 10 years, I finally was able to go back and get back into it and work my butt off and got my black belt 10 years after I initially tested for it. So the second time I felt much better than the first time.
Better late than never. And plus your mind was in a different place.
Exactly. But yeah. But I still remember both tests. I mean, between the 2 tests, I think I ended up breaking somewhere between 20 to 30 boards, and I don't know how many bricks. The one break I missed the first time was breaking a brick with my head, and I was able to get that my second time. But a lot of I was never, form pattern was always my weak spot. That was probably what I worried about the most. Techniques I had down, most of the breaks I wasn't worried about, but the pattern, because my instructor, I don't know how like yours does it, but like we have our 8 patterns that you learn for each belt, and then you're supposed to know them all for black belt. And what he does is he mixes them together. So he'll be like, we did the Paul Gay forms for our form. So he'd be like, all right, do the first 4 steps of Paul Gay Il Chung. All right, stop. Now do the next 4 steps in Paul Gay I Chung. And he'll like mix them up, and you don't know beforehand. So you have to know them that well, where you'll do steps 1 through 4 of this one, steps 4 through 8 of this one, steps 8 through 12 of this one. And that's terrifying for me.
Wow.
I know.
No, I mean, that's, I mean, yes, we're supposed to know all that, but it's hard.
It is.
You're talking about techniques that go back to your first technique that you ever learned.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
I mean, that's what I screwed up on. I screwed up on a technique and I stopped rather than them stopping me. I stopped, went back, bowed out, went and did it again. I said, I'm just not happy with that. Sorry. I think you deserved better. And I did it better. And they never complained at all. I think they just not used to having people stop on them.
Right.
And correct themselves.
See, and my instructor always said, he's like, even if you know you made a mistake, don't stop until we stop you, because we might miss it. So, and he actually approved that to us. My instructor was competing in a tournament, and he was doing his pattern, and I think he was a 3rd or 4th degree black belt at the time, and he did the top half of the pattern wrong, and he realized it as he was doing it. So he purposely did the second half wrong, so it looked like the first, so it was the mirror image, and he ended up winning that division for pattern. Because none of the judges caught it, because he
that's cool.
He hit it so well, and I'm like, that's actually really cool.
Well, I mean, if you can switch that fast though and do that,
yeah,
if you Well, I'm just saying, because he had it so much down, he was able to compensate for that.
Yep.
and redirect. The moves he did were still obviously very effective because they didn't catch it.
Exactly.
I was always very hard on myself. So
Mhm.
I was, one of those people that, this was very important to me. And I, like you,
Mhm.
and I just said, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, win, lose, or draw. I'm going to make sure that whatever technique I'm doing is as it should be.
Nice.
So I stopped, corrected myself, went back and started again.
That's cool.
I figured that all they can do, worst they can say is no. And when you get into the acting business, if you can't handle the word no,
Mhm.
you're in the wrong business.
Right. No, and I'm glad you mentioned that. So that was my next question. How did Hollywood happen for you? Was that something you wanted to do? Did you seek it out, or
No,
Okay.
no. Actually, I was a cop at the time.
Okay.
And I was doing some undercover work in a pretty nasty area. And I studied acting to be a better cop in the field that I was going after the bad guys in.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I actually studied acting to be a better cop and had no intentions of being an actor at all.
Mhm.
I mean, the mere thought, an actor, God, man, people are going to think I'm a wuss and all this other stuff, An actor, I must be out of my, but I studied it and it definitely helped me.
Mhm.
It definitely helped me. And so there was something in the acting that touched a part of me that I hadn't allowed to be touched forever.
Okay. Mhm.
There was a part of me that was very closed off to do that kind of work. My sheriff, I'll give you a quick, I told my sheriff I was going to go to Hollywood and be an actor. You ready for this? My sheriff looked at me and he was being honest. He said, "Don't you have to have a personality to do that?"
Wow.
He said, "Because you don't have one."
Ouch.
Well, and he finished up with this. And I also thought you had to have a sense of humor, which you damn sure don't have.
Wow.
And he said, "But if this is where you want to go do it." Yeah, I'll miss you. You're a good officer. Somebody did an interview with him many years later, and they were asking him about me. He said, "Marshal Teague is a very, very good officer, but you did not want to wave a red flag in front of him." I said, "That's one thing you did not want to do is wave a red flag, because once he started coming, he's not going to stop."
Nice.
So, but obviously time and different area, different space changes you.
Mm-hmm.
And acting changed me a lot, and I think for the better.
Okay.
I found a part of me that I hadn't used in a long time. It's called my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And you find that place and you either move with it or you get lost. And I found it was hard at first because I didn't know what it was. I hadn't used it, but I found out that by doing that and easing up on myself, my martial arts got better.
Okay.
You change from being a machine to being a human. And I don't know if you understand that analogy.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But you do change, and it did change me, and it made things much easier to do. I mean, when you're acting and I would get hired, they say, well, they never questioned, the only time I ever got questioned about martial arts was one show, and I don't even know how far back that is. Mm-hmm. And I did it, and stuntman came over, which I got a lot from a lot of stunt guys. I can't double you because I can't move like you. I'll double you on the high falls and whatever else, but I can't double you in a fight because I can't fight like you do.
Nice.
So,
Okay.
That's a compliment. It's a very high compliment.
Definitely.
But you take a lot of bangs and bruises that sometimes later you wish you hadn't have taken. But that's life.
Right. Was Roadhouse the first one you really got to feature your martial arts extensively, or was there one before that?
No, there was some movies before that. I honestly can't remember them. I'm sorry. We're going back a long way.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just looking at the IMDb. Like I said, I mentioned some of the shows before, and I'm just picking out other ones. I mean, you were BJ and the Bear. I used to watch that when I was a kid. I love that show so much.
I love the Pansy. He was great.
Yeah, Riptide, Otto Man, The Fall Guy. I love The Fall Guy. The A-Team. I mean, you were in some great shows. That is so cool.
And they were all and good people too.
Yeah.
People I worked with, all class acts.
Okay.
And I get actors today, and they'll say, I looked you up, man. You've been in this since the dinosaurs were here. And I say, well, I'm not quite that old, but I've been doing it for a long time. At least I can say as an actor, I have worked all through that time that you see on IMDb.
Yep.
I've steadily worked, and that's not the case for, believe it or not, most actors.
Right. Exactly.
They come in, they get a shot, and maybe it might be a real hot shot, but then they can't, they can't carry it on, or for whatever reason. I don't know the reason.
Well, I think part of it has to do is just I'm just looking at the variety, because so many actors, you see a lot of stuff, a lot of the same style shows where you've done action, you've done drama, you've done comedy. Yes. I mean, like, so what, out of all, like, what is your favorite to do? Does it matter, or do you have fun with everything?
I kind of look at it like this. I mean, I'm an actor, and that's what I do. My job, my profession, my love is to entertain, and whatever level of the work it is, whether it's comedy or drama or high action or what, it makes no difference to me. I enjoy it. I do like the action, I must admit. I enjoy it, but I also love the other stuff. I love it all. Like I said, my job is to act.
Right.
And that's it. There are a lot of people that came out to Hollywood and they said, well, these are young people, by the way. This is many years. And I heard this so many times. They would come out and they say, well, I'm only going to do feature films. I would go, really? Congratulations. I'm glad you've already worked that out in your mind, that in your career, you're only going to do feature films.
You're not going to work much.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that. Thought that would be really rude. I just said, good luck. I said, I work if I get a job, and if it's now there's a limit, to what I'll do, but, or won't do. But a lot of times, I've done little tiny movies, but I did them because of the character. It's not necessarily, people say you did it for the money. No, I didn't. I did it for the character, because whatever the character was, I think people will agree, because I've heard this I can take pretty much any size role you give me, and I'll make you watch it, because I'm going to make it come alive.
Nice.
And that's my feelings about it. I love what I do passionately. Wouldn't change it for the world.
So with Roadhouse, obviously we got to talk a little bit about that. Was that, were you the only trained martial artist on that, or was there other ones involved?
No, Buddy, Patrick, excuse me. I call him Buddy.
Yeah.
But Patrick had studied martial arts in his life. I mean, he was a very active. He studied some martial arts. He never competed, in that. There were other people, in some of those big fights. There were martial arts trained people. Okay. They were good. But Buddy had trained, but you got to understand, Patrick was, what he had trained at is in martial arts. He was also an absolutely brilliant, classically trained actor or dancer. Dancer. And you talk about flexibility, the man could get there. And, the fight, you've probably heard the fight in the Roadhouse that we did, not the Roadhouse they're doing now, but the Roadhouse we did. We made up our minds the first night we were not going to cheat the public, so we decided to bring it. And Patrick said we kind of got to leave the faces alone, because we got to finish this movie. But what do you say we just don't cheat the audience? I said, you came to the right spot, man.
Nice.
So most of those, there's a lot of impact in that fight.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite movie fight scenes.
You can watch it. You can see the impact is there. There's not one of those air fights that you see most of the time, or these green screen super 9,000 backflips spinning thing.
Right.
And you set the camera to get one particular move in, where a person will dance up and swing around a person's neck and take them down, which is they set up a camera. Okay, do this move. Then they blend it into the fight. But no, that was pretty much front to back. They filmed that fight. I think it was 4 or maybe 5 nights, 5.5 hours a night.
Wow.
And I think we did the fight 72 times.
Wow. I was actually going to ask that question. Wow.
Six cameras every night, and we just went at it. The actual fight, Brian, is actually 5 minutes long, and what you see is 2.5 minutes.
Wow. Which
is really long for a fight on film.
Yeah.
It's really long. But the actual fight we did front to back was 5 minutes long.
Wow. Is that footage out there anywhere? Maybe like an extended cut or anything?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay. Darn. I'd love to see that.
I think they edited the fight together, because we tried to do it in rounds, because, Benny the Jet, you speaking of them earlier, was the fight coordinator for the fight. Okay. And Charlie Pacherny, one of the best stunt coordinators in the business. And of course, Benny the Jet. What do you say about that?
Yeah, legend. Yeah.
They retired undefeated, 52-0. Come on.
Yeah, true legend. You can't. Phenomenal.
His form is recognized in Japan.
Yeah.
So they bow to him over there. It's like Gene LaBelle. Gene LaBelle would go to Japan and they bowed to him. He didn't bow to them. They bowed to him because he was so good. So this little thing people don't know about martial artists and, the business and how it morphs into different businesses, a lot of it's because of martial arts. And a lot of people don't want to admit that, but martial arts has a big place in it. And like I said, I don't know about this new Roadhouse. I don't know. I wish them well.
Yeah.
I really do. I sincerely wish them well. But it's going to be, as they call it, a reimagined Roadhouse. And I don't know what reimagined means, but
yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I was actually more excited about the Ronda Rousey version they talked about than this one. I don't know. I'm one of the ones, if I'm that upset about it, I'm just not going to watch it. It's not going to, people are like, you're ruining the original. It doesn't affect the original at all. The original's still there. I'll still watch the original at least once a year. But
I always tell people this. I've been telling people this. I'll tell you what, if you're still watching the new one 33 or 34 years later, I may not be here, but let me know.
Yeah.
We'll see if it holds the same gravity and passion that people have, get from the original one.
Mm-hmm. So what is some of the quotes people when they meet you? Do you still get quotes from Roadhouse?
I've had people, and my wife and I were walking in, I think it was Carousel 3, or I was. No, my wife wasn't with me on this one. She's been with me on other times. But okay. I was on my way to do a show, and I was at the Atlanta airport as well. See Carousel, I'm walking down, I think, to go to that little train that takes you to another one. Mm-hmm. Catch another flight, and I'm looking out, and I see two people coming, and they're staring at me. They're wearing their leathers, they get their leathers on, and they're not wearing colors, but they got their leathers on, that kind of stuff. A guy coming down, and he's got his lady, and they're staring, and he had his sunglasses on. He tips them down and looks at me, and they're giving me what I think is a stink eye.
Okay.
And I just looked and smiled and just kept walking, and all of a sudden, this guy, at the top of his voice, I used to, what I'm saying, I used to effing people like you in prison. And the whole concourse right around just stopped.
Oh, wow.
They just stopped. And I'm sitting there going, okay, this is about to get righteous. I took my glasses off, stuck it in my pocket, turned around, looked at the guy, and he screams out, freaking bitchin' movie, dude, you keep rocking. And just walked off.
Wow.
And I sat there and just smiled. I smiled and went, what are you going to do? I've had people for years come up to me and give a line, and I've had people come and say, you're that asshole from Roadhouse, aren't you? Thinking, oh God, we're about to get Western right here.
That's great.
But no, ended up being some of the nicest people. Matter of fact, we were at one place, and these 4 huge guys came up and did that. My wife was with me, and they said, come on over, let me buy you a beer. And we said, oh, if we don't, they'll probably carry us over there. So we went over, and the next thing I know, they get my wife to ride one of these mechanical bulls, and they tried to throw her off, and she didn't come off of it. She rode it, and then got off and said, well, that was nice. But they were the nicest people in the world. Truly. I have run into some very, very, very nice people, and who have come up and quoted one line or the other. Mm-hmm. Damn boy, I thought you were good. The usual stuff.
That's funny, and it's funny though. As the bad guy, you get the quotes like that, and Patrick got, I thought you'd be bigger.
Yeah. This is one of the time when the bad guy gets the hero lines.
That's right. That's awesome. We'll have to chat again when the sequel comes out, and we'll see.
I don't know. I don't know whether I'll watch it or not.
Yeah, I don't know if I will either. We'll see.
I'll wait till people watch it, and then if they drool over it, great. If they don't drool over it, great.
Nice.
But like I said, I wish them well. I wish them no ill whatsoever. Good. I'm getting a lot of emails. They by the way, if anybody wants to get a hold of me, they can go Martial R Teague on Facebook, or what's the other one?
Instagram or Twitter.
That's okay. It. I can't even remember sometimes. Nice. But they can get me at Martial R Teague. But we've been getting a lot of messages, and and very dear messages. They need to put you in this new one. They can't do a new one without you being in it. And it's kind of like, well, yes, they can. It would be nice.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people would get a kick out of it.
So would you, if they asked, if the script was decent?
They're not going to ask.
No.
They're shooting it right now.
Oh, I didn't realize they already started. Because it'd be cool to have you be like the Sam Elliott character, completely opposite. Well, you go from the bad guy to the hero. It'd be kind of cool.
I think the makeup of the movie is totally different. They're shooting this in Rio de Janeiro.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's based around mixed martial arts,
yep.
MMA. So it's based around that. So he plays an this Dalton plays an mixed martial artist.
Right.
So I think they're going a totally different avenue. But would it have been nice? Would I have done a cameo in it? Sure. Why not? but it's not going to happen. So again, I wish them well.
Yeah, I'll probably wait for the video. I don't know if I'll go to it in theaters, but I'm sure I'll at least watch it just and talk about it on the podcast. But
I think it's streaming. I don't know if it's getting out in.
Okay, well.
I think it's going to be streamed. I don't know. That's what I heard.
That'll be easier then. So, and cheaper. So you've worked with some amazing people. Looking through this, you've worked with Chuck Norris, Cynthia Rothrock. You've been so lucky with just other martial artists you've got to work with too. Just as a martial artist yourself, that has to be pretty cool. And you said you've trained with people like Bill Wallace and Judo Gene LaBelle. So you just had
and Chuck. I've known Chuck for Jesus. We tried to figure out how long we've known each other. We figured we stopped at 4 decades.
Wow.
And we have we've sparred together and worked out. Of course, we worked out while doing the show. Machados would come down. We'd work with the Machados and train with them while they would come in. We'd get off the show and go over and train with the Machados for an hour or two, and come back, or that kind of stuff.
Nice. That's
cool. Chuck, I've known Chuck for years. I can't tell you how many times he's blacked me out or kicked me through a door or something like that.
That's good.
And it's all done with love.
Oh, of course. No, and I've heard, I've never met him. I missed my opportunity to meet him once at a tournament. The one year I didn't go to the Diamond Nationals is the year he was there, so I was kind of sad. But I've heard he's just one of the nicest people in the world. So. What
you see is what you get. What you see him play Walker, that's pretty much him. He's just a very sweet man.
Nice.
He is a buzzsaw in the ring. He's an absolute buzzsaw. But that's why you get. 7-time undefeated world champion, 6-time, whatever, 6 or 7 times. The man was the best, and he is a legend.
Yeah, definitely.
Knowing him for this many years, and his children, his wife, who's wonderful, wonderful lady. That's and the cool. Children, which we kind of vicariously look at as our own kids, since my wife and I don't have kids, but just love them dearly, and they're just family.
That's awesome.
That's how we look at them, family.
Great.
Cynthia is the one I was going to say a minute ago when it came to forms. At one time, she's the best in the world.
Yes.
Best forms artist in the world.
Yeah. So, and still to this, still just like so many people one thing about martial arts, these people who do it most of their lives, they're still active doing it after all these years. That obviously tells you something. Martial arts is also good.
Well, it does. We don't do it. We probably don't do it as fast as we used to.
Right.
Because time is time. But enjoy it, love it, speak about it. And when it's a very small community.
Right.
If you think about it, the martial arts community is a small community on the grand scale of people.
Yes.
But they're a very tight community. They're a very, very tight community. No one wants you to fail. It's amazing. In the martial arts, no one wants you to fail.
True.
They want you to succeed. Yes, they want to beat you if they're fighting you, but after it's over with, certainly no hard feelings.
No, they're going to bow. They're going to shake your hand. They're going to hug you, and you're going to go grab a meal. So
that's right. It's not, and much of that is and how martial arts has evolved into mixed martial arts. That you see a lot of that fellowship. And, every once in a while there's a bad apple between two people.
Right.
But as a whole, most of the community's pretty good eggs.
I would agree. So you kind of mentioned mixed martial arts. So what are your thoughts on MMA and the UFC, and are you a fan?
Oh yes, I'm actually a big fan.
Nice. Okay.
I wish had been developed when I was younger.
Okay.
I do sincerely wish that. Yes, I studied judo, that kind of stuff. So yes, I have ground techniques, not to the degree I'm seeing out there every week. No, I don't know all that. But when I see these young people that I see them do things I can't even imagine, and their quickness. And of course, the training has changed a lot also.
Yes.
From when, I was, which, you're talking over 50 years, of this. And the training back then was not as well developed as it is now, especially in the pro circuit. These schools they have now, these different academies that are out there. We're talking, it's full fledged. They have everything there, for you want to work on your striking. Here's a coach for striking. You want to work on ground techniques. Here's your ground techniques person here. Here's your dietitian person over here. It's just across the board. It's good eating. For instance, U.S. Superfoot Wallace, what he eats, he's plain hamburger.
Really?
Every day, every single day. If he goes to McDonald's and he gets a plain burger, and he has a very difficult time getting people behind the counter to understand a plain burger. a burger, and a bun. That's it.
Wow.
And invariably, he has to send it back. No, I don't want cheese. No, I don't want pickles. Didn't want it. Just a plain burger. And I asked him about that one time. He says, because I know it contains exactly 400 calories.
Ah, okay.
So I eat these a couple of times a day. That's 800 calories. That's how he stays lean. One of the ways. Plus, he eats a ton of fruit.
Okay.
He's a very healthy, you said burger, that's not really healthy.
Yeah.
But when you break it down and you know exactly how many calories you're getting, and then he follows that up with fruit all through the day, I can't argue with the man.
Yeah. Plus, as active as he still is, he's burning those calories too. So.
Oh, he's eating them up.
Yeah.
He eats that up. I mean, but he was always like that. He's always high rev.
Right.
Has always been high rev.
Nice.
And just the nicest person. I think the world of him. I really have a lot of respect for the man.
So
I could tell you a story about him if you'd like to hear it.
Sure, gladly, yes.
We were training one time in Memphis, and he had a fight coming up, and we were, I was working as a sparring partner. We went in one day and we got started, like we always did. We started, and the next thing I know, it went a little further than I don't know whether either one of us expected it, but all of a sudden we started going at it pretty good. Next thing I know, we went through a door.
Wow.
We got back in, came back in, kept kicking. Then we went through a wall. And then we grabbed each other I think we were trying to choke each other out. We ended up through a display case.
Wow. Jeez.
And the lady that ran the thing came up, and we were on the floor, and then we had glass all over us and from the display case. And she came up, and of course, she's got her arms crossed. She's looking down at us. And I cannot begin to express her words as well as she did. But in essence, she said, "What in the world are you two doing? We have a class in 2 hours here." And she said, "Both of you get up and go get a burger or something." Because we got kicked out.
Wow.
And
That's great.
little pieces of glass in her hair, that kind of thing. But so we left and went and got a hamburger.
I love that.
But it was all smiles.
Mm-hmm.
But ding ding, when the bell goes off, he's ready to go.
That's great. Like I said, throughout this conversation, you've mentioned so many great people you've met and trained with. Now, for this question, it doesn't have to be someone you know. It can be. It doesn't have to be someone you've trained with. It can be. But who are some names that you would put on your personal Mount Rushmore of martial arts?
Chuck Norris.
Nice.
I would put Gentle Gene LaBelle.
Very cool.
Kid Joe Louis.
Nice.
And I might even put Superfoot up there.
Okay.
Because Superfoot would be staring at all the rest of those guys saying, "Yes, I beat every one of them once, except Gene LaBelle."
Nice. I've met
and there's probably many more names.
Oh yeah, I've met three of those
so many
four.
Names,
So.
like Eric Lee and all the rest of it. But as far as people that everybody knows about, everybody talks about, everybody respects because of who and what they have done, I would have to put those names up.
Hey, those are great names. I love it. It's a great Mount Rushmore.
And Gene would be right in the middle looking, he would be right in the middle because you have to use that little short Brock because he didn't have any neck.
Nice. I'm hoping maybe we'll get a Gene LaBelle biography movie. That'd be awesome.
I don't know how anybody could do it, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know who'd play him, but it would be, I think his story is too important not to tell. And I'm hoping it'll become a movie at some point.
And I hope that's true because, there's so much that people don't know about Gene.
Right.
Because he worked, all the years he worked as a stuntman, technical, fight coordinator and that kind of stuff over the years. He was kind of, like you said, I don't like he liked to stay, I'm kind of in the shadows, but I'm working. I like doing it that way.
Right.
But people knew his story, his mother owning the Olympia Coliseum out there in LA where they had all the pro wrestlers, and he spent, it's just, and all the people he's trained over the years. Oh my goodness gracious. The list is so long and so distinguished. It's just unreal.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even still.
I proudly say I've been choked out by him several times. I say that proudly.
That's awesome. I never had that honor. Like I said, I only met him one time. Even then, just such a nice and gracious person. And every time I picked him out, like in a movie, he didn't do a lot on the screen. He was, like you said, he was behind the scenes a lot. But I remember when me and my friend went to Rush Hour in the movie theater. All of a sudden, the taxi driver gets out with a gun. I'm like, "That's Gene LaBelle." My friend's like, "Who?"
Yeah.
I'm like the only one in the theater who knew who he was. But
yeah, well, you're speaking of somebody that has a very dear place in my heart for him.
Nice.
And I miss him. And
yeah, that was a sad day.
It was a very sad day. But if we can all sit and say, we had a moment, or with the names I just mentioned, you can say you had a moment with some of these people, then you've had a great moment.
Right.
I'm not a world champion of anything. I'm just a guy who's been at it for a long time and got lucky and went out there and, put it out there in the mainstream media and people saw it. They liked it. And I guess that's my trophy.
That's good though. So in all your years of martial arts, is there one philosophy you've learned that rises to the top? It's super important to you. You keep coming back to it.
Yeah. Be nice until it's time not to be nice.
I love it.
That's easy.
I'm so glad you said that. I love that. I mean, I use that all the time. Anytime I'm in like a work training, cause I've worked in like customer service and stuff, and they're always like, be nice. And I'll be like, until it's time not to be nice. Like, what? And so many people don't get it. I'm like,
no, they don't. I mean, when they were pitching around trying to find a line, we were doing Roadhouse, and that line came out, and they said, I like it, we'll use it. But it's it's really what we all should kind of live by.
Yep, exactly. It's a great philosophy. I mean, it's a great line from a movie, but it's also a great philosophy.
Yeah, I've used that line most of my life. Be nice till it's time not to be nice, and then don't be.
All right, so I got a few more fun ones just to wrap it up. A few fun questions.
Lay it on me, man. Lay it on.
All right, favorite martial arts book?
Oh gosh, I don't know if I have one. You mean written about martial arts?
It can be about martial arts. It can be a martial artist biography. It can be a technique book. Anything that has to do with martial arts in a book.
Oh, well, there's actually a lot of. I mean, you kind of caught me off guard there. There's one I just read by Jim Smokey West about a technique that he is developing. And I was with him recently, just getting to know him actually. And I read his book, about how this technique came to be.
Okay.
And I don't have it in front of me, so I can just tell you it was written by Jim Smokey West. And there's two books. There's one about it. It's basically the philosophy of why we fight or why you feel a certain thing that you feel. And what are the things you look for possibly in a confrontation or how to avoid it and mistakes you shouldn't make because I made them, that kind of thing.
Okay. Is that A Mind for the Fight? Is that the book?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if it's a mind for the fight, but I go upside and I'd have to go upstairs to find
that's
it.
Fine. I Googled and that's what the first one that came up, an evolutionary mindset.
That's part of what that is.
Okay.
And I read it and I thought, I really enjoyed it because it gets into it's not a book about really, how they, the pictures of here's how you do the move. Here's the first move.
Right.
Because there's a lot of books of those. And even though they're written by great martial artists, they really don't tell you a lot. Because unless you're working with somebody, you have somebody to work the technique out with, you really don't understand the dynamics of it. And there was a book about a martial artist. It's a book about all the sayings about Chuck Norris, which I found absolutely hilarious.
Oh yeah, the Chuck Norris jokes book and stuff.
Yeah,
That's great.
It's a book that it's just hilarious. I mean, when he and I were in Iraq and we were over there visiting the troops, there was a new one came across the line every day we were there, because everybody over there heard that we were there. So there were these amazing, every day, a new Chuck Norris something came around it. And it just got to be, we go into the base and people say, here's the latest ones just came through,
And I heard Chuck just loved them. I heard he thought they were hilarious.
Oh, laughs to this day.
Nice.
He'll want to come up and he'll think of it or he'll go look it up and he'll just bust out laughing.
That's great. See, and that's another thing. It just makes him it's like the fact that he can laugh at himself like that. It's just so cool.
Oh, he has a ball with it. Yeah, he really does have a ball with it,
Okay.
Something about something about his beard on making stone, but it was too hard, something like that.
Nice.
Couldn't chisel it because his beard was too tough. I don't know. There are all kinds of little weird things that people came up.
Yep.
I don't really have a lot of books about it.
Okay.
I've read a lot of them, but I can't quote you titles because I read them for a specific reason,
mm-hmm.
or something in there. Somebody says, take a look at this and see what you think. And I would read it for that. But as far as going in to read everybody's philosophy, I don't.
Okay.
I'll find one that gets me interested. Yes.
Okay.
I'll read it. It's like, the Smokey's book. I mean, it interested me and I read it. I was very interested reading it. It made a lot of common sense, a lot of common failures, but they're human failures and human successes.
It looks like a great book. I'm definitely adding it to my list. So yeah.
You'll tell me what you think the next time we talk.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely going to order it because it looks really good. All right. These last couple questions, you can't use something you've been in. So you've been in a lot, so it might be kind of tough, but How about a favorite martial arts TV show? The one you used to watch, or maybe a current one you watch? Or...
Oh, let's go with Kung Fu.
That's a standard answer. I'd say about a third of my guests picked that one. So that's a good answer.
We watched it. I mean, was he a martial artist? No. But you sit there and watch this guy come in, and this philosophy came out, this easygoing stuff, and these moves they would throw in. Yeah, it was a hoot. So I'd have to say that, because let's face it, it's based on what? Kung Fu.
Yep. And it got how
I
many
mean,
people
because I really
interested?
don't know a lot of TV shows that were really based on martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there is a lot of them that have really been based on it. I'm sure there are now, because they're doing shows on so many networks. I mean, I really just don't know.
Yeah, I'm one who I'll seek out anything to do with martial arts. So I've watched so many, and most people have never heard of a lot of them. But I mean, there's been so many good ones over the years, and usually each decade there's at least a handful of good TV shows. But yeah, Kung Fu is always a good one you can go with. So cool.
Well, when you say a martial arts TV show,
mm-hmm.
that's pretty much what I would call the epitome of a martial arts TV show.
Yeah, where martial arts is the main focus.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it's about.
Yeah, I mean,
all the way from priesthood, all the way to his life, his understandings, his beliefs, and all that. So
there's a lot of them that feature martial arts, obviously. So I mean, it's something like, I guess maybe something like the Highlander TV series. The main focus of that is the fight scenes. So you could maybe argue with that.
And the good sword work, but
exactly.
But his sword was more of a katana.
Yeah.
Than some of the broadswords, sabers, and that you saw other bad guys have.
Exactly.
And so yes, I would say that would be also a good one to put that in, because I always appreciated that, because when they did the movie, mm-hmm. and Sean Connery had that blade, I mean, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. So yeah, I can definitely see it. I mean, favorite martial arts movies.
Yep, that's my next question.
I can't. I mean, I've got to admit that I just saw a movie the other night called Grandmaster.
Oh yeah.
And I've watched it 2 or 3 times. I really like it, but I've got to tell you, I am kind of a geek for the old Chinese flying. The one
like kung fu theater type stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, I used to watch it all the time, because some of it was just funny as all get out.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd see them jumping off of walls or backwards onto a wall, and they would fly across the yard walking.
The way
and kind of like what's the movie something dragon?
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yes, yep. I love that. I love that movie.
Great movie. Yes.
Now that movie, I truly, truly love. It was a beautifully done movie. Beautifully done.
Yep.
Chow Yun-fat did a marvelous job.
Definitely.
That would have to be one of them also. Okay. But I liked all those geeky kung fu theater things. I just used to get a kick out of them.
Nice. All right, final question. This one, same type of thing, not one you've been in. So, because obviously a lot of people have picked the Roadhouse fight scene for this one, but what is doesn't have to be a martial arts movie, just your favorite movie fight scene? Is there just
John Wayne? I'm trying to the Irish. Why can't names I'm having a hard time with.
Okay.
Quiet Man. Quiet Man.
Okay. And
the reason for that, I absolutely love that. I actually search it out when I know the Quiet Man's going to be on, because Victor McLaughlin, who he gets in the fight with, I mean, it goes over an entire county. This isn't a fight that just takes place in a bar
mm-hmm.
or in a house, this goes across the entire county. And they even stop to have a beer.
Nice. I've never watched that one. I'll have to maybe watch
that.
You
need to watch that because of that fight. You may, and Marino O'Hara, is it Marino O'Hara? Yeah, yep. Marino O'Hara, is in it, and Victor McLaughlin, and it's all the Irish, every Irish voiced actor that ever lived is in it.
Okay.
And it's just wonderful. It can be sad at sometimes, but and other times it's hilarious. But that fight, to me, people say, how do you rate fights? And I always rate that right up there in the top 5 fights that I've ever seen.
Very cool.
Strictly because of how the geography that they covered in that fight. 2 mm-hmm. guys all across look like the entire county. And the people in the town follow them from place to place to watch the fight.
Nice.
The entire town follows them everywhere they go.
I definitely want to check that one out now. So I will add that to my list. So before I let you go, is there anything else? Like, what's your next most recent project you have coming up?
A couple of things. One, I just finished working on a show that I think just aired a series has started. It's called Mo.
Okay.
And it's on Netflix and it's streaming right now. I did I think the name of the episode is Legality.
Okay.
Or something like that. The episode that I did, I played a judge. Testimony. My wife corrected me back here. It's Testimony.
Okay.
Did that. It was a lot of fun. Really nice people. The man's name is Mo Amir. He's a stand-up comic. Matter of fact, he's going to be in the Black Adam. He's going to be in Black Adam.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Something in Black Adam. But he's just a really nice man. He's Palestinian. Created a series about how he got his citizenship to come into the United States.
Oh, cool. Okay.
It's about that. I mean, it's pretty good. And my partner and I, we were working on 2 projects. One is a feature film that we're working on feverishly to get ready to go. And then the other one, which is a sci-fi fantasy horror historical TV series.
Very cool. Okay.
Which I'm kind of a geek for that stuff anyway. But we're working on that. They're very promising. And we hope that will happen. So we're trying to stay busy.
Cool.
But if people do want to please tell them that they can get a hold of me at Marshall R. Teague, middle R, got to put that R in there, on Facebook and Twitter.
Okay. And I'll put links for both of those when the show comes out too. Like I said, it'll be about, I think first Thursday in October is when your episode will come out, but I'll put links to your social media and everything. But I just want to thank you. This has been so much fun. You have some amazing stories. I've loved chatting with you. And just such a career, and I'm so glad you're still going.
I'm still going, Brian.
Yeah.
I'll be here till they put me in a jar and put me on a shelf somewhere. But I love it. Keep doing what you're doing. Really, people. It's really important. People understand, and schools, because we're trying to get more schools to make martial arts something that can be taught. And and because of these school boards thinking, well, it's based on violence. No, it is not. It is built on character building, self-control, and self-respect.
Right.
And once they get that, plus it physically keeps people getting their butt worked out. So, if people want to talk about, well, we're trying to cut down on obesity, get them in there and get them in a gi. They'll lose it.
So do you work with Chuck Norris on that project then? Because I know
I've been working with Kickstart Kids for how many, 22 years? Huh?
Nice. Okay.
22, 25 years. I mean, I've been, part of that. We've been on the board of directors, but I personally know that they have put 80,000 kids through that program.
Wow.
80,000.
He's proven that it works in schools and it can work. It's just that.
Oh, he's improved it time and again.
Yeah. I tried that myself. I tried with a local middle school, and the vice principal was on board. He wanted to do it. He was all, and I'm like, I'll come in and I'll teach 3 days a week. And the school board shot it down. So for those same reasons,
they think it's based on violence.
Yep. And they wouldn't even let me talk to them. It's like, he's like,
because you'd make them look like a fool.
Exactly.
When you walked in and said, okay, this is how you feel. Okay, let me tell you what martial arts truly is. Mm-hmm. By the time you get over, it'll be the lady that is sweating in the corner saying, well, I still think it's about violence. Well, then you didn't hear a damn word I said.
Exactly.
And you're stupid. So
hoping,
that's what we've gone up against that a lot. We really have.
I really hope in my lifetime I'll see it in the public schools. I don't think I will, but I'm holding out hope. I really do.
I hope you do too. And, we do, because I have seen the difference it has made in children kids that have, when they get into this program, if they have gang affiliations, they have to give up a lot to be in this program. Mm-hmm. They have to have any gang affiliations they have to go to school, and they've got mentors. Their teachers are mentors. They're there all the time. So if they have problems, they have somebody to go to. They have somebody they can talk to. And to see that, there are people that in there that, come from single father, single mother homes in the worst of areas. And I know of 3 of them that are running corporations now.
Wow, that's awesome.
So you can't tell me it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I know it works, and I've seen it work. And for all these years, I've seen a lot of these kids grow up, and to see what they've grown up to and how they have blossomed and come into themselves is just amazing.
Well, I'll put a link for the Kickstart Kids page out there also. Like I said, any other links you want me to share, just let me know.
That'd be it with me. I really would appreciate it. Cool. If you'd be willing to do that.
Oh, glad anything you need, I will. Anything I can do to help, I gladly will, because I believe in that program a lot. So, but once again, I truly appreciate your time, and I look forward to getting the episode out for people to listen to.
And Brian, I have really enjoyed speaking with you tonight. I really have. It's been just a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist. We hope you will join us every week for a brand new episode with a different martial artist telling their story. If you enjoy the show, be sure to leave us a review. Also, be sure to check out our website at everydaymartialartist.com. There you can find all of our episodes and contact us to suggest guests and ask questions. Again, thanks for listening to Everyday Martial Artist, and we'll see you next week.